matter how much sex you want to have, having more sex than you want to have is not a fun time. Like, that shit is unpleasant, and it becomes exhausting.
I was just talking about, like, I was just trying to tell my gal that because my gal was mad with me because, like, she said I ain't touch her all week. I just like put this gal to sleep on Sunday, but like it was like Wednesday.
This nigga said put her to sleep.
I just like knocked this gal out. Like I talking about like fuck this gal out, and like on Wednesday like this gal was
fucking
upset.
bed.
I'm just like she was upset. Like no, I'm talking about irate. I'm just like, what happened to you? She just like, oh, like you know, you so like consumed with. I was just like, listen, I ain't just a piece of fucking meat. I just like I don't need to, and I'm all like, but at the same time, I didn't say that right. I performed it. I performed the rest of my things, but like I didn't do it on my terms. But I did it because I was supposed to. And like she's all like, oh, you ain't into it. I'm all like, I was watching a good movie.
No, I'm not.
I was watching a good movie. And then she was just like, well, why didn't you say that? I was just like, because you didn't ask. You just grabbed the vibe and just like, and like it reminded me that like we're like, especially men in general, like we're expected to perform and be these extremely, black men in particular, like these sexual beings. And like to not do that is insinuating that something's wrong with them, like the gal. Because like, it's just like, you're supposed to be voracious and like, you're not on me. Like why?
See, that's a red flag. It's a red flag.
I was curious about this bondage. Like bondage, I guess I'm extremely vanilla in that regard. And like, I'm wondering how you do bondage safely, not coupled or partnered, at least.
Oh, you mean like if you're like casually? Is that what you mean, or?
Yeah. How do you casually bondage?
Like, I think you just got to find a woman that's into it, and then you just communicate that. Like y'all just had that discussion, and discuss a safe word. They gotta get you in the game. Not
but that's
that I
a
know.
lot of an investment. That ain't casual no more.
Interesting.
I mean, it ain't like, oh, okay, all right, I'm sorry, but let's define casual. Are you continuing to see this woman after the fact? Probably not. You just preparing, my brother.
So wait, hold on. You getting tied up and just never talking to this woman again? I feel like that's crazy.
Like, are you gonna be on the phone with her every day, texting, like planning up a date, a meetup, and the next meetup? That's not more bonded sessions. I mean.
I think maybe we're not hearing what Foreign is saying, though. Because I feel like there's a subtext to what he's saying. It sounds like you're saying you want to feel safe and close to the person that does tie you up. Is that what you're getting at?
Precisely. And
so you wouldn't want to do BDSM with someone that's casual, maybe is what you're getting at.
I don't think that I would be able to be comfortable enough to actually climax and perform. Knowing that I'm in such a vulnerable and precarious situation and being the type of dude that I am. And like being like growing up the way that I have, like in the Bahamas, like even though it's paradise, like, you know, like we're very paranoid by design, just being here. So like we don't have the spaces like you might have like in LA, like where like if you watch Cat Black, like they're part of like the BDSM community, and like they talk about, oh yeah, we go to parties and like it's a BDSM thing, it's a thing. Like there's no space for that here. So
you're not leaving your laptop in the Starbucks. It's not that kind of community. I feel you.
Nah,
and you got to take that with you.
There's no even like there might be something online where you could like make these type of arrangements, but there is no spaces, and if there are, they are very small in numbers, and there are definitely people trying to exploit those spaces for
geographic, like, so you're saying you're confined geographically, but if you was in LA in like an open environment, you would be a lot more comfortable. Is that fair?
I think he's saying even like because he was raised in that environment,
because of the
even
culture.
in LA, he don't feel safe like that.
There's no situation where I'd feel safe, bound. Like there's no situation where I don't want my hands free.
I'm good with a roundhouse kick though, so I feel like if my hands are tied up, I still feel like I can like hold my own if shit really gets crazy. I feel like I can still Bruce Lee myself out of a situation, you know.
So that goes to my theory that you're actually a ninja. Like I still believe that, but I'm also not comfortable without my hands. Like I'm not landing kicks. Above like shin level, like that's just not happening. Like I'm not roundhouse kicking.
I feel you.
Anybody.
I don't know.
And there's no range on a headbutt, so.
I get the impression that Alvin got some strong ass legs though, like a shin.
That's
kick
what
to
I'm
the
thinking.
shins from
I feel
AB.
like he hit you with that horse kick. I feel like knock
you also got
your chest.
You also got to remember. You also got to remember that I'm nursing a torn meniscus until December.
Well, you ain't got to
You
tell
can't hit him
people
with
that.
Yeah,
Both
you can't
of
hit
them
him with the
in this case?
left
You got another one?
left foot.
So so one is torn, and so that means I'm overcompensating on the other knee pretty much constantly. So the other one now also hurts like all the time. So I'm now wearing two knee braces.
Jesus Christ!
This
nigga in the Forrest Gump, goddamn.
nigga bionic.
Effectively, yeah, like they're both heavy duty metal,
Victor
like
Stone,
metal on the
nigga,
side.
goddamn.
Oh, little
Like,
tink
knee
tink.
Cyborg.
braces, so
Oh, little tink
that
tink.
is basically what's happening.
Booyah!
Only black people could like legit like hear like a whole hindering ass disability and then be like, yeah, this nigga cyborg. Like I'm just like.
Yo, I also feel like Caribbean people are mad, hilariously ableist with their language. Because I feel like we doing it lightweight. I've had some people talk where I'm like, yo, did you just to his face, dog? Like, he's not, this ain't a joke.
You. We like if we find out like you're like
Broke foot boy.
there was this dude in like the neighborhood, like man, like had a limp. I think like he was suffering from polio, bro. Like,
That's crazy.
Like,
That's old times.
Like
I can
we used to,
still hear you. I'm just walking away, but I can still hear you.
Yeah, no, like I mean, like man, them used to call this man Mr. Limp. Like I'm on like, bro, like how you even fix him out to say this? Like I think about the things that like we saying, like there's no reason, like there's no way that we're saying heaven. Like I mean, like if there's
This
a
man
girl,
is
like
one step away from an iron lung, and y'all calling him Mr. Limp like he ain't him just walking around in an accomplishment.
Jesus Christ. I got a question, but real quick, let me bring everybody into the podcast. Welcome everybody to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 dating and disability allyship podcast in the universe. It's your boy Eddie. It's Josh. It's Alvin. Joined today by
That was the
Foreign
worst
man.
fucking air horn ever.
in a foreign
Eddie, like, just
land.
never do that again. Cut that shit out, Eddie. Cut that shit out. Edit that
These
one out,
niggas
man.
never don't let me get away with nothing. I'm trying
let-
something out.
Josh was right there. Josh was right there prepared.
I
to
thought it
do
was
a
good.
Convincing fucking air horn
And he
noise.
did. He saw me floundering. I'm not musical. I talk
gave him
good.
the
That's why I'm not a
pashoons.
rapper. I hit him with the pium piums. Pium 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 pium.
Zooms.
oh man, ain't no, I'm glad that y'all
That's
gave
the
me the
phaser.
air horns. No man, come on. It's a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you all. Thank you all
Thank
very
you for
much.
coming
Bless
through.
the chat. Bless the pod. You know.
Indeed,
I am
indeed.
foreign. He, him. He, himbo. I know what
Yo.
everyone call me.
Himbo.
I'm mad at you, bro.
He man.
What I do?
When we first like met digitally to like speak, this nigga asked me my pronouns, right? And I was like, oh, he, him. And then, but check this. Then I was like, oh, how about you? And this nigga looked at me like I was crazy. He was like, him.
What the fuck you thought this was?
The fuck?
Don't you ever disrespect like that in your life again?
Fuck what? What you
crazy.
mean? This nigga looked at me like I was insane. And I was
Right.
like, oh, and then I was like, whoa, what is this conversation? This nigga didn't ask my pronouns. He basically just accused me of being non-binary, but just in a question form. Like,
Nah,
you really
you-
gonna try my,
like,
he tried my
that's-
gender
that is-
gangster. That's crazy.
Bro, like I mean, like, cause like when like that day in
See,
particular,
that's
like
that's
there was
more
Twilight.
problematic.
Look, I am like, listen,
A nigga
like,
can't
that
be
day in
cisgender in Twilight. Nigga, damn.
like I saw like the fern sitting up on,
Yeah.
on the ledge, and like the hair was given that day. Like I was just like, there's
Hair
no
was
way
given.
this
What
is
was
given
Zazie
very
Beetz?
much they them. I was just like, this is like I
This
can't.
nigga.
Hell was
And when he hit
given.
me with the he him,
Big NBDM energy.
Oh shit!
Man,
Hey yo, I'm
that's
sorry.
bullshit,
but-
bro.
I'm sorry, but
This
it's
nigga
apologies in
gendered me,
advance. I might be on some Chet Hank shit this episode because I'm trying to break out the episode.
Yo, go ahead.
Big ol'
Go ahead. Go ahead, do the fake patois. Do the
Nah,
fake
see,
patois.
I
Get
wasn't
it out.
even. See, I was conscious about this, but I was watching some of his videos. This nigga be doing the African American accent horribly through the whole thing, so I don't feel any guilt about it.
I got it now.
You don't hit none of the words right, bro.
What?
He be like, yo, 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 I'm a young African American, bro. It's like, come on, man, that ain't how we sound.
I have a whole other ego called Mr. Yeehaw, and I kill that shit all the time. But I had to get
Mr.
canceled for that because
Yeehaw?
Mr. Yeehaw, like it was the cowboy emoji. I used to put it over my head in my videos, and I used to role play. Going said, "What the hell, y'all?"
See, this
doing
brother
on my
right here
goddamn
is
porch?"
made. You gonna be on OnlyFans in no time at all, my brother. On
Mr.
somebody's
Yeehaw.
stage, Mr.
Yeah.
Yeehaw, foreign, exotic. You got all the stripper names, cuz.
And you Jamaican too. It's gonna be some people that's gonna like that. You building the brand. You don't know it, but you building the brand right now. You building the real brand right now. The foreign man in a foreign land. Ooh.
Someone said foreign man in a foreign man like one time. Like, I slipped up. Like I think I retweeted it. I retweeted it. Like it was like a collaborator, and I did just like foreign man in a foreign man. I'm just like, I'll never forgive you. I'm all like, they're not gonna let me live this down, fam. They're waiting for this. And like they just dropped the eye emoji underneath the comment, and they're just like I like foreign man and a foreign man, like I. And like they're just like when. I'm just like, you see, like you're giving these people something I can't deliver on. Like I'm more like, bro, like do you know this? Like I can't.
They're trying to tell you, your demographic is trying to tell you the type of content that they need you to start. You just got to make that. That's the nigger tier. That's the Patreon nigger tier. And then
I can't wait for that.
$350. Oh yeah, you're right. Cause that was in the Patreon episode. That just sounded crazy as fuck. If you listen to this on YouTube, watch the Patreon. You understand what the fuck the nigger tier is. It's fine.
We're just not gonna explain it. We're just not gonna.
Yeah, no. If you want the explanation, you gotta pay for it. We're not giving away freebies in the YouTube. Come on, no.
Like I said, it's fine. It's fine. I promise, it's fine. Like
yeah. Like the explanation made it better. The explanation probably made it worse. It probably made it worse. But I wanted to ask you. Do you think that like that form of ableist teasing, like naming people after their disabilities, that type of shit that Caribbeans do you think is that across the board just horrifically problematic, or do you think there's space for that to be part of teasing community culture, that kind of thing? Because this is a thing that I've flip-flopped back and forth over the years on. But cause niggas in America do the same thing, but not with disabilities. We just like if we notice that you look like somebody, we just gonna say it. Even if we don't know you, we just on the street at a Waffle House, yo, Mickey Free, like yo, fucking Barry White, whatever. And I always am like, is that culture? Is that connection? Is that mockery? I don't know. But yeah, I'm just curious your thoughts.
I think that black people have a very like just the black diaspora in general, and I think it's due to like the hereditary pain that we've all just like. That hold us together, like the fact that like we're in a white supremacist structure, like we have generational trauma. I think that that's made us extremely adept at turning pain into pleasure. And we find a way we call it ribbon in the Bahamas, because like we do this a lot.
Roasting,
and we get like guttural to it. Like you be trying to figure out if we friends. We talk real hard.
That's why your mama dead. Oh, Jesus.
I was just like, goddamn, like, I mean, do you even like me at the end of the day? And I think like that's good. I think that like this extremely sanitized, diplomatic, tippy-toe way that like we've created a leftist space in particular. And it might just be on Twitter, because I don't think that anywhere else outside, like actually IRL is like this in many ways. Like I think like in many different coveys of people, there are liberties granted to certain people.
Yes.
So like when you get to like in specific like problematic language amongst good-hearted people, you kind of give some space to it. And I think like you have to sublimate a little bit more like when you're reaching like a general audience. If you had like a public setting, you don't understand people's hearts, you don't know like the malice behind it, you don't know the person in particular. And, you know, probably not the best time to do it. But at the same time, it's really important to also give room for people who set up those boundaries to be all like, okay, I ain't playing like that. And just allow that all to commingle like together, you know? Because like I said, like you create those sanitized environments, like devoid of all type of problematic takes or whatsoever. And I don't think that you like what that looks like. I think after a while,
it's not fun. Nobody's really friends, I feel like, in that environment. Like if we not roasting each other a little bit, we probably not cool with each other. Like if I'm not roasting you a little bit and you're not roasting me a little bit, we're probably kind of at an arm's distance. And that, to be fair, sometimes that's like, don't roast me because I don't know you. So if I'm letting you roast me, that's a permission to consent to this interaction. If I meet somebody and they're trying to roast too soon, I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
yeah, so I definitely agree with, I feel like there's a deeper connection when you're able to express love through teasing, through jokes, through like, and also, and this is something that a homeboy of mine pointed out. He was like, sometimes it takes a special kind of understanding to be racist right in a funny way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Racism be funny as hell sometimes. Like racism,
it does.
Like I'm just like, damn, like more like
It's some. Hey, look.
Funny.
Hey, look. I just rewatched Rush Hour recently, and I was like, yo, they could not redo this, but this shit is funny, and everybody's down for it. Everybody in it is game for this. So I feel like if everybody's participating and nobody's the singular butt of the joke, cool. Like let's have fun with it. But the thing
And
is,
it has to
I feel
actually
like
be funny too. Like that's the
it
point.
does have
Like,
to
I feel
actually
like
be a
people
joke.
miss
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like, cause some people are big deal, like, oh, comedy is dead, like comedians can't be comedians. Like, your niggas just ain't funny. Let's be real. Like Dave Chappelle trying to
No, I agree with you there, but yeah.
Like,
It's
like,
also
just,
something that's it's completely different when it's minority groups doing it to minority groups. Like I know we don't like it's different. It's different.
It's different.
Like,
It's different. No, you're right. You're right.
It's different. I'm not.
But it
I'm not
ain't- but
saying
it
it's
ain't-
excused, and especially when you're crossing minority groups doing it. But saying like, for example, it's a big difference for me to say, yeah, man, black people love fucking watermelon and fried chicken, like versus saying like a white person doing it. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
well, yeah, but that's intra. That's intra. That's in group, and I feel like nobody shits on that. You can be gay, trans, black, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody pretty much is on board for in group mockery.
So imagine if the white people in Rush Hour weren't, I say 95% of the time, the straight people. You know what I'm saying? The straight man in the comment.
True.
Like if they were willing participants in it versus it mostly being like racial humor going between Chris Tucker and Jackie.
There's like the '90s buddy cop movies where it's a white guy and a black guy. They do that, like National Security, fucking white boys
Like
can't jump, or whatever it's called, like that kind of shit.
So again,
White men
if you
can't
look
jump,
at white men can't jump, white people were the butt of the joke.
That's a fair point.
And again, if you look at National Treasure, again, 99% of that was white people being the butt of the joke, them picking at that like cop stereotype, and also like 4 people saw National Treasure. I mean National Security.
Yeah, no, I didn't even finish it, bro. I just watched the first 30 minutes of it.
I saw it in theaters.
Jesus,
but like,
when did that shit
like
come out?
4 people saw that shit.
Yeah. That
But I
Black
mean,
Knight. But Black Knight
but like
was
the
good.
thing is, like,
Yeah,
they
Black Knight
gotta be
was phenomenal. It's one of my favorite Martin movies. Actually.
Black Knight.
Now I got to rewatch it because I remember liking it, but I didn't know if it was good.
I like those like off the radar Martin movies. Like for example, I love Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. It's one of my like all time favorite movies. It's like
Shit,
a
I
top
gotta
50
put these on the
movie
list
for me.
now.
Oh yeah,
We educating our foreign. We got it. You getting a starter class in African American culture.
They had a phenomenal cast too, man. Like Cedric the Entertainer, James Earl Jones was in that. Fucking, you know
Jesus.
what I mean? Like,
write this down. This is required
start
reading
studying.
now. Okay.
Oh,
Start studying, nigga.
Oh,
Yeah,
goddamn it, get
type
off
it
the
down.
pen.
Yeah, research.
I got
Parker
a foreign
was in
goddamn
it.
black movies.
George Bryant. Like,
Now you got to buy the DVD, man. Support black businesses.
Actually, no, because I mean the rights
buy
are
the
probably
Blu-ray.
in Sony or something else like that. Like I mean, like they probably ain't even get a lick off that.
That's not even money coming to any black people.
but I want to circle back because the calling the guy limp, like that's pretty personal to me. So I have a surgically repaired Achilles. So I fucked up my Achilles when I was in middle school. So I had surgery on it summer before my 7th grade year, and I came back with this like wild misshapen cast because it's like it's toward the bottom, like instep of my foot up through my ankle. So it was like very like thick and bulbous like around that area. So I couldn't get like a socko on over it, like even like those like cast socks.
Yeah,
that they
elephant
gotta make.
feet.
You couldn't get a sock.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a sock on it.
No, so it's like I came in, my toes are showing, my toes are
tree stump.
swollen. So like the first joke that I got coming through the door.
Foreign. This is not funny, sir. This is middle school
This is
trauma.
the point. This is
ableist.
This is what I'm talking
What
about.
we
This
doing,
nigga,
bro?
that nigga Eddie love doing shit like that. Just
This is why I'm telling the story.
I'm sorry, bro. Like when you said that you couldn't get a sock on it, I was just like, "Fuck, I can't. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it."
So I walk into the door and somebody like stops me and is like, "Hey man, when the new shell toes come out?" That was the first joke. So on the fucking- I'm like, God damn it. So then I'm walking through the hall, right, and people are like seeing it. People are realizing what's going on, and these motherfuckers. And this is, I'm in middle school, so PIMP 50 Cent, get rich or die trying is pretty hot. So these motherfuckers is calling me the LIMP for fucking like 6 weeks. So like I'm walking around and they're fucking singing the song
He's
and
a
shit.
motherfucking
calling me-
LIMP. See, how did that make you feel though? Let me let them finish this part off. And then because I'm curious. Oh Jesus, Foreign's gone.
What you heard about me?
LIMP.
So the bitch can't get a step up out of me.
Oh shit. Damn.
Niggas was
I'm
clever,
glad-
man. Niggas was
Bro, we
clever.
would have been fucking him up if we was in high school, middle school with him too. That's damn.
Oh shit.
Jesus Christ.
Bro, that shit's vicious. No, you gotta get that. You have the hard one. Get back. A crazy get
Yeah.
back.
Now see,
A crazy
that was-
get back.
But that was the thing. So it was like I didn't think anything of it because when I was in middle school, everybody had their day, right? Like so,
Okay.
if it wasn't me, you know, it was gonna be somebody
It's
else.
somebody
and I
else.
was gonna be participating. So I
so
didn't
that
really
felt
much
that
about
felt
it.
fine. It felt like see, because
I was like,
think
oh
if,
man, you niggas got me.
okay, I'll get you next time. It's
Better
whatever.
take it, yeah.
See, because I feel like everybody doesn't feel like that. Like I feel like sometimes it can be that, and I feel that way when it's in close relationships or people that I'm like in community with.
Yeah.
But I know it's hella people who, you know, we think they're in on a joke or whatever, but it's like another nigga with that cast is sweating bullets, anxious to come to school today because he knows he's about to get roasted. Especially if maybe his social standing isn't great in school, where he knows like, cool, after this roasting, people are gonna hang with me. I'm getting invited to the parties. Girls are after me. Blah blah blah. But if you're not that dude, you come in. This is a source of like serious social anxiety, I would think. And I've been in vaguely bits like that. Even if even if I know I'm cool, I'm like, fuck, I gotta have counter insults ready so that I don't walk out of the school feeling like shit at the end of this day. So I gotta be ready because niggas about to roast my new haircut or whatever. So I gotta be ready with the shit. And I feel like that's a very defensive. It just can be on some bullshit. So I've always felt that like with the roasting, it's like it's gotta be consensual. And a lot of times niggas don't really care about if it is or if it's not. You know?
Yeah. And like I was like that too. Like I got bullied like relentlessly. Like I talking about like
That shit
some
don't feel
serious
good, I would
bullying.
assume.
It don't. And like I mean, it was a matrix for me to engender a lot of so that's what got me into my love for fighting, like self-defense, and then MMA and jiu-jitsu, all of that afterwards. And actually that's one of like my worst takes in my whole like YouTube career. I had a video about like how bullying changed my life, and it was like a glorified like deep dive on retrospective bullying. And I'm just like, yeah, that made me, progress and all of that other stuff.
Like it built character.
Yeah, all of that shit, right? And like, this is
Yeah.
before I had a leftist audience. And like, I have to unlearn like a lot of conservative like values because like, I mean, that's part and parcel of being in the Caribbean. Like, I feel that. I feel that in particular. Like, I was fat like my whole life. Like, I started lifting weights like. when I got to
Congratulations,
college.
welcome to the club.
Appreciate it. I mean, and like, I think that I agree to a very like high degree. Bullying, especially for people where you never know like when that's like the last straw, and like if your joke is literally what pushing that fellow off the cliff.
Sure.
So even like that consensual ribbon, like you don't know what that person got going on in their personal life. So it's really hard to even say like consensual, because what's consensual today might not even be consensual tomorrow when you ribbon your friend who may be extremely insecure about this one joke that you make, and like
You
how
think
you
it's
deal
good
with
until they just this nigga, they hit you with the this nigga, no, you got it, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, oh fuck, you crossed some line that you didn't realize was there. Because this is something, because I definitely, I tease and mock with friends, but I'm pretty quick on the on the I's and Q's, so sometimes it can be one-sided, and that's something that I have worried about, especially in the past, where because I definitely mock niggas for if you fat or whatever, and it's like, cool, we're jonesing, and I would try to toss in like, hey, but look, if the shit that I'm saying ever is like crosses from being funny to not funny, let me know. But then there's like a power dynamic situation there, where it's like, especially if you're a man, the desire to express, hey, actually, that hurt my feelings, is like, you could ask the question, but have I actually created a safe space where a person could? And I feel like that's a little bit of a, and even now that's true even now. So I'm like you said, it's consensually we're mocking one another, but is the other person really down for it, or they don't want to seem uptight, they don't want to seem lame, they don't want to seem butthurt, da 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 da, and so it's like, yeah. So I'm not sure. I feel like the like broke foot boy shit. I feel like that's probably, I don't feel like they're in on a joke most of the time. I feel like that's like, if I had to guess, 85% of the time, bullshit. Like, I don't think that most of the time a nigga in a wheelchair is like, yeah, no, you got me, guys, again, for the 700th time. I've been broke for every fucking day. Like, it's not going to heal like Alvin. So it's like, I don't think that nigga is really in on that one. Some, yes, but I feel like it's something to be real careful with.
And I wonder, like, because
I don't be lifting.
That,
I was just saying,
women,
like, you know, what in the chat they just asked me if I be lifting because I said welcome to the team.
really?
I just meant welcome to the team of not being a fat nigga. That's what I meant.
Oh, because I was like, nigga, what club are you involved in that he's part of?
I was like,
They
this
said-
nigga
nah,
lifting.
we both
This
they
nigga
them.
just
Nigga, we
started
both they
lifting
them.
yesterday?
Shit. Nah. We both. Nah, bro. No binary.
But I
for
wonder,
us.
like,
Me
I
and Foreign
wonder,
right
like,
here.
if
Right in the middle of
I
the
wonder
binary.
if
outside.
I
of it,
wonder
sorry.
if it's like if we do a really bad job at fostering those spaces as men, like in like a lot of masculine spaces, like I find it very difficult to perform like the vulnerability aspect of masculinity. I find it very easy to like do that whole like suffer in silence type of thing, like, and even like if it's getting to me, like I'm not gonna talk about it. But like even fostering a space for things to be vulnerable and like for it to be okay to say that something's not okay is I found very rare in a lot of masculine spaces. In fact, I can say that I haven't found like probably any space outside of like URL spaces like YouTube, like these type of conversations right here. And I wonder how often that is, and I wonder if it's easier for other genders. Like I always like wonder like if women have it like maybe a little bit easier.
I wonder.
You know, because
To be
I feel like they could be
vulnerable?
very vicious too.
Yeah.
To be vulnerable?
But
To be
in this
vulnerable,
particular
kinda
way.
like- yeah, so like making fun about each other. Like I feel like
Yeah,
they can get very cutthroat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but like
I feel like they
think-
almost
I don't-
aren't.
Yeah, because I feel like they have a shorter. It's like a shorter rope. Like you can't just kill a woman like you could just kill a man, and he just got to take it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
like
you know they come
even,
back.
like, yeah, they
But do
coming
you
back
think
and
that
though like
they're-
you know
'cause I feel like
it's fuck your whole friendship after that.
Yeah, no, that's true. But also, I feel like they friend. Yeah. But I also feel though that there is a resistance to being like, hey, Stephanie, by the way, the thing that you said yesterday at T, I know it was all jokes, but it kind of crossed the line.
Not cool.
Like what I told you about, like Jonathan, that was in privacy. Like that shouldn't have been. I feel like those conversations also kind of low key don't happen as much as we maybe think they
Really?
do. Like I feel like shit turns into like silence and shit sometimes like that. You know what I mean? Instead of being like pure vulnerability. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Because I've also
also
done
think
those,
Yeah, I think for me, like I always come at these conversations because I have these conversations with, like on Twitter, and I'm kind of weird in the Twitter space. Is that most of the people that you may see me interact with, like I know in real life. So like a lot of people that like you'll see me interacting with, talking to on Twitter, like these are people that I know from high school and college. So they like know me. So I'll have these conversations with them about how they feel about stuff and bullying and all that kind of situation. And the sense is that I can never fully understand what that means for people because I've never truly been bullied. And then when they say that they were bullied for reasons where you might stereotypically think that I may have been bullied, they'll say something like, well, you have like the physical advantage, like you're big,
Yeah.
you're strong, you're X, Y, you know what I mean? And I've always been like, you know, like a large person. Like I was 5'10" starting high school, you know what I mean? So it's not like I was, you know, like I've ever been like a small person. So I don't fully know like how to even like have those conversations or fully conceptualize it to the degree that some people would, because that's never been my lived experience. So like when I hear people say like, oh, well, I'm picking at you about this, my immediate response is, well, if somebody's picking at me about this, well, I have XYZ that they don't have. So like, yeah, get your licks in, do what you got to do, because I'm winning an XYZ response. So like, I kind of don't give a shit. But that's the more and more I have those conversations, the more I realize that that's kind of like a reductive space to be in, because it kind of just reeks of like my privilege in that particular regard.
Yeah. That's 100% the privileged take. But yeah, that's a good point. That's the like, you know, oh, don't be offended if it don't apply school of thought, which is like doesn't really
that's a
work,
privileged
yeah.
position.
Yeah. It's like, no, like words hurt. Like people, you can't hear a sentence and not process it in your mind. Like human brains aren't built like that to where we can just let words come in and out. Like like
and
that.
Our lived experience is going to impact how we process it. So like if you have like a lived experience that gives you some sort of armor based on some sort of like privileged position, like you're not gonna process it the same way that even the masses would do, but certainly not everybody on an individual level.
Yeah, and sometimes the roast is true. It's like sometimes nigga is fat, nigga is short, nigga is bald, nigga is ugly. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, damn, you pointed it out. Like I can't be like, well, if it doesn't apply, it does apply, and it hurts my feelings that you pointed it out. Like you shouldn't have done that. So, yeah, I don't know if there is, like, if we do have enough of that vulnerability to kind of say that shit is an issue, but I think it's a thing to work towards, I would say. Yeah.
And I think like social discourse is just extremely difficult and nuanced, and like it's something that me, like as a gregarious and affable person that like kind of does like the social dances really easily, and that's part of being like in Caribbean culture. Like we have to perform social cohesion and like very like close. We're very like touchy and
So
like
you're
we're,
well
like, very
trained.
close. Yeah, you're very like a lot of social sophistication that allowed me a lot of help in American spaces, because like I think like people weren't used to that, weren't used to the warmth, and weren't used to like the wit and like the way that you dance
back and forth,
in these
yeah.
social. Yeah, they weren't used to the banter exactly. It was until I got to these spaces that are a little bit more social justice adjacent that I realized that social discourse is extremely difficult, especially like if you're trying to go about it generously and considerately, and like trying to like keep in mind other people's feelings and not centering yourself inside it and trying to figure out other
and
people's
your experience
perspectives.
and your way of communicating. And
It's very difficult, and like you end up being quiet a lot of the times because you're just like, well, I want to give space for this person to talk because they haven't spoken the whole time. I also know that this isn't my place to talk because the conversation is about something that I'm an authority in. And like when you're thinking about all those things, like you begin to be a little bit more cerebral. And I wonder if that's fun. Like that's me at the end of the day. I'm more like, I wonder if that is a better conversation. And it all depends like on the day. Like sometimes like you want like that riveting conversation, you want the banter, you want the loud laughs, you want to talk shit about people. And there should be a space for that. Equally as there should be a space for that cerebral, vulnerable, okay, I don't need to talk right now because this isn't about me. I want to hear what this person has to say. And both of those should be able to coexist. Ideally,
niggas
rarely does it happen.
In short, niggas should be able to let these jokes fly a little bit, right? Is that
They should let
part
it
of what you're
fly.
getting? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They should let it fly, and they should also be able to talk about like what they said afterwards. Like even though I laugh, like yeah, you know.
But here's the
that was
actual
a little
Or
point.
much.
just shut up after a certain point. But have y'all ever been in a group of friends, like, and that's all they did was just roast on each other, like 24/7, like at any given time.
just wasn't
you fuck around
anything
and do
else.
something, and like boom, a nigga just got
It's a
joned
roast.
on, and like they just laughing for 5 minutes straight, and
On
like
you.
bro,
It
I
depends.
remember like
Yeah.
I remember because like I think we can all low key kind of relate to being in like around those environments. But I remember this one particular friend group when I was in college,
Yeah.
and my homeboy, he had some friends come in town from Texas, and like we was hanging around his homeboy, so we saw how they interacted with each other. And them niggas roasted each other so goddamn bad, like 24/7, and then like we got it by extension. So you gotta have jokes
Yeah.
prepared and shit. So
Like, whoa,
so,
I
but
thought we
that
were just
shit
hanging
is
out.
exhausting.
Jesus. Yeah.
It's like
That
it's
shit's
like learning how to fight.
Yeah,
You know,
Right.
it's like learning how to fight.
Nigga
Low
just said
key.
hello. Like, Jesus. Oh, fuck. Okay, hello.
Shit, you gotta
Oh,
go in
shit,
and knock
alright.
you gotta go in and knock the biggest nigga out. The biggest nigga out first, so they know
Welcome
not
to
to
jail.
fuck with you like that.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, see, that sounds exhausting to me. I'm like, if I can't, at some point it don't become fun. It's like you can compare it to anything else in a relationship. Like sex is fun, it's cool, but too much sex is actually terrible. Like more sex than you want to have, no matter how much sex you want to have, having more sex than you want to have is not a fun time. Like that shit is unpleasant and it becomes exhausting.
I was just talking about like I was just trying to tell my gal that because my gal was mad with me because like she said I ain't touch her all week. I just like put this gal to sleep on Sunday, but like it was like
This
Wednesday.
nigga said put
and,
her to
like,
sleep.
I just like knocked this gal out. Like I talking about like fuck this gal out, and like on Wednesday like this gal was
Fucking a
upset.
bed.
I'm just like she was upset. Like no, I'm talking about irate. I'm just like what happened to you? And like she just like oh like you know you so like consumed with. I was just like listen. I ain't just a piece of fucking meat. I just I don't need to, and I'm all like, but at the same time, I didn't say that, right? I performed it. I performed the rest of my things, but I didn't do it on my terms, but I did it because I was supposed to. And I was thinking about that afterwards, and she in mid thing, we was she was trying to do some things, and I was just I was just okay, I waiting for you to finish what you're doing right now so I could go and do my job. And she's all oh, you ain't into it. I'm all I was watching a good movie.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I was watching a good movie. And then she was just well, why didn't you say that? I was just because you didn't ask. You just grabbed the vibe and just and it reminded me that we're especially men in general, we're expected to perform and be these extremely, black men in particular, these sexual beings. And to not do that is insinuating that something's wrong with them, the gal. Because you're just you're supposed to be voracious and you're not on me. Why?
So how
I don't know
disgusting must I be? No, 100%. And I just wanted to take a second to just acknowledge. I feel like what you just described is maybe more not great than maybe even you were kind of putting it forward as, because I feel like that kind of thing happens a lot. I feel like that's low key sure. That's not great to experience that with an intimate partner. I'm not trying, I don't want to be disrespectful, but you know what I'm saying? Because I feel feeling pressured, not feeling attended to by your partner with regard to your consent and or desire, because they're not the same thing, but they do cross over to one another, is that's because I've had that kind of situation before, and it can kind of feel like a compliment, but I feel I mostly don't like it. I don't like somebody feeling entitled to my body, my performance, it's something that I have to do for them, and they're not taking into account how I feel, what I just, and so I just want to acknowledge that wasn't great. You know what I'm saying, bro?
No, for real. And
yeah.
And there's a difficulty and a hindrance to saying it, not because of hurting their feelings. I think we have a good sexual communication, and overall our sexual experience is really good. We're both satisfied. I think we're in counseling right now, and that's one thing that we're really good in. We're bad in communication. We got trust issues, but when it comes to sex, yeah, that's shit great. And the thing is, I think it wasn't about me hurting her feelings. I wasn't too worried about that. I was more so worried about the commentary that it has on my masculinity by me not fulfilling that. Me not playing that part. It's just another task that it's another box to tick. Wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, do work shit. You know what I'm talking about? Go to the gym, grunt. Scoff food, snort it like cocaine, very quickly and voraciously and animalistically. Burp, shit, stuff like that. And I always wonder how much of that do I actually want to do, and how much of that do I feel I'm supposed to do. And I didn't think about that before. Going back to what we were talking about, that gender is a luxury video. We don't, as straight men, we don't really think of the different nuances and subtext and subtitles to the things that we do. We just do.
And why they're done, yeah.
And what script am I reading in masculinity? We don't really think about that. We really just perform. And I think that a lot of other intersections, women, non-binary folks, they think about it a lot, and they interrogate it a lot. And I rarely had a chance to interrogate, why can't I be sassy and flamboyant sometimes? Why can't
if
I
you
wear,
choose to, yeah.
If I want to, if I feeling sassy, I can't,
And
but
to perform it deliberately, and that was something I was trying to get at, but when FD was on, that I kind of fumbled, kind of trying to get it out. But what I was saying is, I think there's also space for men to make a conscious choice to be masculine, but in much the same way that that non-men make a conscious choice of I want to perform hyperfemininity, but I've broken it apart. I've examined it. I've examined the way that it relates me to men, the patriarchy, et cetera, and I've made this choice. Whereas I feel like a lot of men aren't even making a conscious choice to be I don't know, I've examined this, I've looked at it, and no, I feel like a roughneck nigga. That's what I feel like, and that's my gender, and I feel like that's also a valid choice, but that's a choice that doesn't get made. It's it's either on autopilot, or only non-men, queer folks, women get to really make a choice going somewhere else. Nobody's like deliberately choosing like, no, I'm a man. This feels right. This is what I'm going to do. This is my choice. It works for me. So that was something I was trying to get at in that. Yeah, with the sexual performance thing, I don't know.
Like, and it goes back to what you saying. Like, I tell you, I talk a lot.
I was just about to say, because it can be, because I definitely understand where you're coming from. Like, even just with the being apprehensive to like talk about it and how you felt in that moment, because you're not, like you said, like it's not necessarily about her, but how you're viewed. And then even if, especially if you tell that shit to other guys who.
Oh, niggas got no time. Niggas got
be like,
no
what you
time.
talking about? Like,
bro,
you had a nice fine
like,
gal, all that next to you, and you ain't. Hey, let me
just
call,
whipping
let
your dick out.
Tell the call.
And then they be like,
so
I feel like a man. They be like, I feel like a man dying of thirst watching another nigga drown. What are you talking about? So, so
really?
that's tough because apparently these niggas between 18 and 30 ain't fucking.
It's a big ass goddamn talking point, bro. That's
the
question is
statistic that came out about like 18 to 30-year-olds.
Yeah, like 33% of these niggas. It's like I guess the question is like, but hold on though. Like, cause I seen somebody say that in the comments of like, oh, if 1 out of 3 is not, then that means 2 out of 3 is. It's like, yo, hold on. If 33% of the population is not doing something that's part of that is a fundamental experience, that's not insignificant. Like if 33% of the population wasn't eating, like we're not gonna be like, well, but 66% of them is. It's like, hold on, like that's
and like
that's
I try
too
to
much.
figure out like because like then like I have to like think about like the asexual people and like I don't even know how to even think of that. Like when I first like I knew asexual as like on the spectrum like exists, but like to have like no desire to have sex, not to be repulsed by it, but just like absolutely have like you even might engage in sex, but like you don't have a drive to. And I'm all like, I feel like that sometimes, but it's always in spite of something else that I'm doing. It's never that like I'm devoid of it. It's just like that's like very low on my priority. Like in Sims, like all of the green bars.
Is that what you're saying? You think asexuality feels like? Is that what you're?
I would assume that that's what it would be most like, to just have like absolutely no libido and like no type of drive towards that. And when you say like 33% of them, I'm wondering
you fit in right in on this podcast because we be guessing this shit. We be like, hey, look, I don't know what it means, but look, based on the etymology, it's got you are asexual, so that's got something to do with sex.
So
I don't know what that means.
I didn't look too hard at those numbers. But the thing about like when you do like those kind of studies, you have to be very careful that what you're getting is a representative sample, right? So what they probably did was they got
niggas
a sample.
that got time to goddamn do an interview probably not getting no pussy.
Exactly. So it probably wasn't a representative sample. They probably didn't oversample certain groups, right? So like for example with the CDC, if you do a random sample of the United States, right, you're going to miss lots of black people. Like if you just do a random sample, like just random wide net sample, you're not going to get any black people. You're not going to get any Native American people. And you're going to get increasing, probably a decent percentage, but not a whole ton of Hispanic Latino people, right? So you have to oversample certain groups and then mathematically like refactor that in on the back end. But they probably got a very bad sample. And I would imagine that the numbers probably look a little bit better if you actually get a representative sample. Just anecdotally, I do think that it's still a problem. And when I say problem, I mean I use the term problem like pretty colloquially there. Meaning I think it still happens. I think that's
I think it might also be a problem. Let's say that there is something there. There is some observed non-negligible.
Which I think it is. I think it's some. I do think it's something there. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this something that we should give a fuck about? Because I feel like on one side there's these red pill, like, pick up, like these niggas who are going, this is an issue and women are to blame, whatever it is. And the other side is kind of saying, who gives a fuck? And so I'm wondering, where do we fall on this? If men aren't fucking, and also the other thing is, from what I've seen of these studies, the idea is that everybody's not fucking. Women are just fucking slightly more, but they also aren't fucking as much. So yeah, is this something that we should give a fuck? And if so, what's to be done about it? Is it a problem in the strong sense of that word?
I think we should give a fuck about it. I do. But it's
I
like
agree.
why is in a healthy sense.
I think it's on the predication that we're supposed to be grind, like we say grind juice, like we have a bunch of words for having sex. Like we supposed to be having
Smashing.
sex. And it goes back to like those
Juice.
old school
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's
old
a-
school like
We're gonna have to start
I
putting
was
it's
juicing last
juicy.
night.
I was juicing that pom pom last night.
It was
Oh,
juicing that boom,
there
boom.
can we get like a patois, like a fake patois, like meter? Like dig
Remind me, I was
If I get
juicing that
close.
boom boom last night.
that was like that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Though. Like I can't
Yeah.
A nigga
like
fire.
it's still go fuck
Speaking
man.
of
Like,
patois.
Mush hits up.
Bullshit. Boom, 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 boom. Back shot, back shot, back shot.
Dig up the whole clitoris.
Hey, yo, listen! You drop one big tune right now, bunch.
Alvin, you hearing this? Like Alvin can't even take this off his speech. Look, I was saying right before I was assaulted with fake patois.
Culturally interrupted.
Right?
Country is-
Assaulted with
country
cultural
assaulted.
appropriation.
assaulted with it, right? Baby, like this is all predicated on those old school Genesis interpretations. Like, you know, you here for one reason, and that's to procreate. And we know if we look at it from a different perspective, like a non-traditional conservative values perspective, we know that people have more ambitions and aspirations than just having children.
Fucking,
Some people
yeah.
have fucking, and then like with
And
the
children,
with
okay,
the
yes.
ideas of having children, and like I think that now we're aware of just how much outside of that is there. So you, depending on who, if having sex means a lot to me, I can't say it means a lot to everybody else. And I think that now it's okay to, it's more okay now to not have sex or, you know, to not have children than it was before. Like there's a little bit more space for people that have no desire to procreate and find much more fulfillment in far many other things and realms of life. And I want to give space to that. I just don't know if we can assign a causal relationship to that statistic, if that statistic has right bearings.
Is even true, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if we could like assign like a causal relationship to the reason why there's like such a decrease is because people are making a choice out of their own volition to not have sex.
Hell no.
Well-
These niggas ain't choosing that. Come on. I know you said you talk real good. Get the fuck out of here, dog. Come on.
You think, like,
niggas want to
if-
be fucking.
If left to their own designs, they fucking.
Of course. Come on. I mean, maybe I'm being anecdotal.
agree with
I
that.
agree.
I agree
There's
with
some
that.
people who are like, they're not fucking because they don't. Because I'm not fucking and I don't want to be fucking but I'm not
Right now.
right now but I'm saying that as somebody who was fucking and made kind of a semi-conscious choice to like stop attempting to do so. But
Why?
well, just
Getting
because
too
it
much
did.
pussy, baby.
Yeah, it was
Getting way too
overwhelming,
much
nigga.
pussy.
My dick,
There was
my
no
dick was getting all
fap?
shriveled up. It was.
I didn't know if
yeah.
it was like a no fap type thing.
Nah, it
because
would
I
just
was on
depend,
that for
yeah.
a second.
It was. I mean, it was kind like it not exactly that, but it was kind of like it's a little bit of a time suck. It's a little bit of a not a
Yeah.
waste of time, but it's like a lot of time can kind of go into going on
Lord.
dates and meeting new people and deciding if you're compatible and breaking up with people and being broken up with people. And I'm like, I'd rather read and watch movies and talk to niggas and laugh and cook and garden and
didn't-
just whatever the fuck else is in life.
I didn't
You
realize
enjoy
it was a
niggas'
very
company.
It was a Steve Jobsian decision. I didn't realize that. Like I didn't realize it was
It
like
was
a,
somewhat a
it was
productivity decision in a way, yeah.
Yeah. I'm wearing
Wow.
the same turtleneck every day, so I don't have to think about my clothes type decision.
Yeah, that was probably about 70% of it, I would say.
Got you. Okay.
There was maybe like 30% of it that was like, I guess, emotional, like.
I think I'm
even
tracking
that
to the
emotional,
30%.
even that emotional part is actually probably part of the 70 because it's like I'm making a calculation about like where am I actually getting the most emotional fulfillment from, and let me put more wood behind one arrow and be like, okay, I'm putting all of this effort in, and I'm getting this tiny bit of sexual gratification, a little bit of intimacy, things don't work out, da 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 da. Or if I bury that in community, in family, in friendship, that gives back to you tenfold, and you can build on it in a different way. But
Yeah,
I
makes sense.
just wanted to get back to the
Yeah,
general
yeah,
niggas
yeah.
because I'm not the sample on this. I feel like it's a lot of niggas not fucking who want to be fucking. That's a different thing.
And do you think that, just for shits and giggles, do you think that they're black people? Like, do you think that, like...
Do I think niggas ain't fucking?
Yeah. Like, do you think it's actual niggas that ain't fucking? Because since,
I
like,
think
given
so.
that
I
context-
think it's some. I mean, I don't know.
Niggas is in there. Niggas is definitely in there, bro. Like,
Wait, you mean included or in the pussy?
I don't know if... Yeah, I think... I don't...
Included.
I don't think that there's, like, that many Nick cells.
Oh, okay. I think it might be some Nick cells, bro. I think it's
I think it's some. I think that's a much smaller proportion. I think it's a much smaller proportion of.
I think
Nick
it might be
cells.
representative. I think they might be like at least 12%, 10-12% of incels.
Okay, so the way what I'm thinking about is so I'm assuming that when they did this study, they probably didn't talk to any black people because they probably didn't oversample. I do agree there's some. I just think it's much less. I think this focused on a very specific demographic. I think it was the incel young white male population. I think if you do this study and you focus on it and you split it out, if you stratify based on like all the other racial ethnic groups that we have in the United States, I think that you will see that yes, there are a lot, but I think 12% is probably where you're going to fall, 12-15%, and that's a much lower percentage versus what we're seeing in this number that we're quoted. They quoted what, 33%? I think if you do it for Asian men, it's a lower percentage than this study said.
No,
a lot of Asians just have a cold.
No, hold on. Look, you might be doing math that's smarter than what I can comprehend.
I think it's lower. I think it's a lower percentage.
So you think Asian men are fucking more than white men as a percentage in the 18 to 24 bracket?
Yes.
Nah.
But I also want to point out that I don't even think the number is 33% for white men.
Okay, just whatever it is. Whatever it is, you think those are? I don't think so. Could be, but I don't think so.
I think,
but
like,
can we get away from the stats and on to why aren't they?
That's what I would,
or whether or not it's a problem. I think
I would really like to actually whatever the arrangement of shit is. Let's talk about the fucking actual thing because I'm probably just gonna have to cut this stats
conversation.
Yeah. So Josh, did you have a thing to say about the nature?
Just later because I do think that a lot of it is women aren't necessarily as attracted or want to give draws to a lot of these guys that might be approaching them or want draws from them. And then you also have to go into, well, why aren't these women attracted to them? Like, is it an issue with how men are approaching them? Is it an issue? Is it like a financial thing? Is it a lifestyle thing? Do they not feel respected? Do they feel threatened? Do they feel comfortable? Like, all those things kind of go into it. But at the same time, I will also say that there is a certain pocket of men who are kind of in a growing phase, in a healing phase, and we're starting to realize like our own worth and our own value, and maybe we're taking ourselves out of the market, just like, Eddie, myself, in a sense, is like, so it's not. Might be looking for something a little bit more. Might not want to have a whole relationship, but you might not necessarily. You might be kind of looking at women like, okay, well, y'all do have things to work on as well, because like I'm not like a lot of these other niggas. And I'm noticing that the bullshit that y'all do, and that's a difficult pill for a lot of women to swallow. They don't like to. No one really likes to have a mirror placed up in front of you, and you see your own faults, or someone calls you on your stuff, because that's just everyone's human. But I do think there is like a certain amount of men who are also kind of like removing themselves away from that market, or not even trying. You're opting out and not even really trying.
I think there's probably some amount of that for sure. Something that's that Alvin said previously, where he was like, "There's been and this is to your first point, because I do have two things, but that there's been a change where women's and men's access to one another has changed, and women's access to financial, logistical, economic, educational, healthcare has changed." So what previously we considered to be kind of like consensual pairings was a result of like economic and social pressures. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Our grandmothers didn't have as much choice about choosing to be or not be with our grandfathers. So I think Alvin said this. He was like, now niggas actually have to be liked by the women that are choosing them. So I think there's some amount of that. And it's not that men have become less attractive. It's that they actually need to be attractive. So I think there's that part. But I think we're quick to just completely say that's the whole problem and not do any further and just go, look, niggas ain't getting pussy, it's niggas' fault, boom. Or like, oh, women with their standards and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like there's some space for like just zooming out a little bit and just talking a little bit more macro, because I feel like a lot of times we do all these like Hinge, Tinder, OkCupid stats about, you know, do black men respond to black women, do Asian men respond to Asian women, and we do all of these stats to try and show the biases of the individuals. And I feel like we should be putting a little bit more responsibility on platforms and systems and like city organization and even shit like that, where it's like and algorithms where it's like people have little biases, but these algorithms and platforms exaggerate them to a huge extent to where it's like, fuck, people can't even connect anymore because you've given one person to talk to and 150 other people that also want to fuck them at this time, and we're wondering why it's difficult for a person to form a meaningful sexual romantic connection with a person, and we blame the person. And I just feel like we need to blame the companies a little bit.
And also, like, a lot of these conversations and studies in general are extremely American-centric. Like, extremely, like, North American-centric and, like,
or
just the
Western
discourses.
Europe.
Yeah,
or
Western Europe. Yeah. Exactly. Canada, all of that. Like,
well, this is the West. We're talking about the West in this, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, but, like, if you go, like, people grinding over here. Like, people having a lot,
people is
lot
fucking,
of sex.
okay.
A lot, like, I talking about, there's a lot of children being born. Like, I talking, like, old school, like, 5, 6 children being born to one woman in like 1 year. Like, I'm talking about this serious. Like,
by one man? Or is it like
sometimes, like, it depends.
Okay.
Like,
hey,
and like,
get it in.
That sounded like an air
line.
horn, by the way.
What you say?
That sounded like Eddie's fucking air horn right there. That's just his generic fucking sound.
That's just my sound for with everything. Yeah.
That's the laser.
I don't have a lot of sounds in my.
You don't have no sound
reel.
effects?
Nah, I don't really have. Yeah, everything is just an effeminate air horn, pretty much. Yeah.
No, that's also the sound Eddie makes when he comes. It's coming. It's coming.
That should sound like Pac-Man dying. Like, bro, like,
the way you did it sounded like Double Jeopardy. I'm close.
Confetti and shit like that. No, like I think like a lot of these conversations, like, I mean, like, it's very skewed and now, like, as Alvin was saying. And I also think it can very well, like, these studies also have an agenda. Like, people have a goal that they're trying to fulfill when they're making these studies. Like, they always have, like, something in mind, a research question that is targeted, that is biased. And we're dealing with this, like, idea of a loneliness epidemic. This is coming off of the cusp of, like, a big incel boom. We're still kind of going through with the manosphere type of thing. So this comes at, like, a very peculiar time. I don't know exactly when it came up. Maybe it just was done a long time ago and it was dredged up recently, or it was done recently. But I take all of that into account because who benefits from this idea or this notion that there's not enough sex? And that's very interesting when you think about it, because, like, there was this whole discussion about declining birth rates and everything like that. Who benefits from more birth rates? Who benefits from more sex? Who benefits from all of this discussion and discourse?
Boy, he done took the next level.
He done opened up the fourth eye. Oh, wait a second. Speak on it, brother.
Next level, my brother.
So it's always like that. Like, that's what I'm thinking about, like, in my mind, because, like, a lot of like hegemonic countries, like the States, Canada, UK, like, they have a concerted effort in more people being born. They do want that. They definitely don't care about sustainability. They don't care about none of this other shit. Like, they need more people because that's more able backs to be working and to be commodified and exploited.
It's all connected, baby.
It wouldn't be far-fetched to say that, like, I want you all to be thinking that we ain't have enough sex, so you all can have more sex.
I could totally believe, because this is something that I've read about, that, like, the idea of the nuclear family, of 2 working parents, of monogamy and all of that kind of stuff serves economics. Like, it's one thing to say, like, people are fucking and people are having babies, but if you can go, you got 2 parents, both of which work, and they have children, and those children will go on to work, you could create a system that's, like, very economically beneficial when you have that set up. And I feel like that requires men to be, like, one man to be fucking one woman and vice versa. And it like, every man's got to get a woman for that to work.
It doesn't even necessarily have to be, like, beneficial in, like, the conspiracy theorist way, right? Like, think about how, like, Social Security and, like, public works spending works, right? Like, we talked about this in a podcast, like, a while ago, right? So, like, when when we borrow money, right, we're borrowing money against future productivity. From a nation perspective, like an economic perspective, future productivity is what? How much your citizenry is producing, right? So if my citizenry is like going down, if I don't have a big enough population, like what does that look like? Can I take loans out versus my future productivity if my future productivity is less? So that means that impacts stuff like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, again, like public infrastructure projects, like all that kind of stuff. It's not even necessarily have to be like a nefarious conspiracy kind of thing, but it's 100% economic.
Absolutely. And I think that like people, and it's also like, who do we want to be fucking? You know, wait,
which direction do you mean that in?
Who?
Because I know who I want to be fucking.
What race do we want to be having sex? Because they're quick to talk about like,
right. So white incels is the problem because we want more white people.
Because that's what we
get.
Replacement
That's what we're talking about.
Replacement theory, quote unquote.
That's what we talking about. It's a
right
problem because white men not getting white pussy and they not
You
making
never
enough
hear
white
about them
babies.
saying that, oh, like these black people, they ain't having enough sex. Like you always hear about it, like in the inner city, it's just like, listen, if y'all would have less sex and have less children out of wedlock, maybe you could grab yourself up from the bootstraps and get off of welfare. You always hear that argument. You never hear about the white people that
I do hear it a lot from brown boys and Asian boys as like I do hear the incel talking points coming from brown boys and Asian boys quite a bit, but I don't know if it's really being ridden for. You know what I'm saying? Like incels, there's like power behind that. But when brown boys and Asian boys say, "Yo, we're not," I don't really see the same like rah like protest type energy coming with that. So I don't know. I do want to welcome at least the conversation to be like, I think it's a lot of people who do want to be fucking that aren't. And I think it's okay for them to want that. I think that's a regular human. I'm going to use the word need. Maybe not in the way that food is, but in the way that like community is. And I think it's worth saying, look, some efforts that don't blame women or require like a fucking state mandated girlfriend can at least be explored by saying like, hey, look, what things can we do to bring people into community, to socialize folks better, to teach them how to connect, to bring up the minimum standards for what socialization looks like. Because more people consensually fucking is a good thing for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we can have that conversation in this without vilifying women. You know what I'm saying?
I tell you, and we've talked about it on this, and I feel very strongly about this. The easiest way, because if you look at most studies on this matter, most people still want to have children someday. Most people still view that as a goal. Make it easier for people to have children. And there are a lot of ways you can.
People they don't want to
yes,
fuck.
the fuck it will. Yes, the fuck it will, bro.
Oh,
yes,
really?
The fuck
What?
It will. Yep.
Hold on. You gotta. Okay, look. I'm not saying you're wrong, but just talk me through that. We gotta finish it in a second, but just talk me through how facilitating, childcare and contraception and all that kind of shit is gonna result in. Think of the current state of the United States that a lot of Gen Zers are aging up into, right? Where we're constantly having contraception, abortion rights, all this kind of stuff, like limited, right? So like if you look at it as like an ongoing trend, like people are going to say like my only safe option is abstinence in a lot of places, and I'm thinking about a lot of places where the population is extremely substantial, right? So I'm thinking say like Texas, right? Texas is what, the third most populous state in the union. Like it's an economic powerhouse. It has a GDP, like it moves mountains. It's higher than Poland probably. You know what I mean? So it's like this nigga said probably. He just said fuck Poland.
So
it's small as shit.
No, I'm just saying like there are some states that I know.
He always gives it with a fact. He was like, bigger than Poland.
That's just because,
probably.
That's just because like there are only a handful of states that I know their GDP off the top of my head, and that's New York, California, and Georgia because I'm from Georgia. Okay. So I know California's is higher than Poland, and I know Georgia's is not higher than Poland's.
Okay.
So I'm thinking
everything
Texas
is measured in Poland.
Yeah. So Texas is probably higher than Poland.
Right. I was thinking to Poland.
Yeah, but just think about that. Think about that, right? Think about the world that they're inheriting, right? So you see people coming into that place where they're in that like, that lower realm of that like adulthood perspective. So I imagine a lot of them are worried about child rearing to the point where they're just abstaining in a lot of these very high population, but also increasingly conservative United States places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, just from like the guttural reaction, like if I, as a black woman, knew that I had the safeguards and like the likelihood of me going to have a child and the child actually living, or me actually living, because we all know black mortality, maternity and mortality.
No, big fact. Yeah.
It's double. It's double.
Yeah, like if I knew
At
that
minimum.
those safeguards were there, and like also if postnatal care, like, and like knowing that the government will assist me, if
Childcare. Yeah.
childcare, whatever, everything else, even if I have like a two-parent, a dyadic type of relationship with a
Damn,
parent.
new word drop. Dyadic. That means when it's two motherfuckers. Is that what? Is it girl boy boy means that?
Could be anything. That's why I say
Anything,
dyadic,
so it's just
not
two.
like a husband and
Dyadic,
That's
okay.
how you have to talk when you're in
God
the video
damn.
essay spec. 'cause
No,
people
hey,
don't
look,
when
I
you
like
say-
it. I like it. Words help, because I be having something to say and I don't know what words to use. So I got to say a long ass, like, if it's a boy and a boy or a boy and a girl or a girl and a girl. Dyadic.
No, me and
Dyadic
Josh
is
made
like-
the same face because this nigga just lied to me. I said, I don't be knowing words when I be needing
Real talk.
words.
Ain't
This
no,
nigga's
but
the
I've
most
heard him say words.
You're the most
I said a couple
articulate
words.
nigga on the internet, and you tell me
But
I don't be knowing
because of
words.
moments like this, because best believe, probably within this podcast, I'm finna use dyadic smooth as fuck in this conversation. That's why I'm articulate, because I see a word and I say a word, goddammit.
Like,
That's
oh.
how I make it work. Dyadic,
I'm
that was
about to
good.
appropriate the fuck out of this word.
Yeah,
Dyadic.
immediately.
Not as long as it ain't with a patois, like I could.
Yeah.
Like as long as you don't say and
Dyadic.
no thought. Oh fuck, there it is. But like for real, like I mean, like if you have those safeguards, like going in, you'd be like, okay, maybe I might be a little bit more progressive and liberal with my my flock and my front. You know,
You might throw it
that's
back a
just-
little bit more strongly, more aggressively, more vehemently, more. Yeah. You might get into some dyadic relationships and throw it back on the nigga. Okay, I see you. I
Damn,
see you. I
there
feel
we
you.
go. Like
Well,
you brought a full circle.
Full circle, nigga, full circle. Well, look, everybody, let me tell you this right quick. You know what I'm saying? If you're living in a situation where you don't have the access to the prenatal care and the birth control and all that shit that would allow you to throw it back how you want to throw it back, you might be seeing a red flag. But at the same time, if you're in a position where, you're blaming women for the fact that you're not getting pussy, it might be you that's waving the red flag. It's been Waving the Red Flag podcast. It's been Eddie. It's been Josh. It's been Alvin, joined today by the illustrious, the glorious, air horns please, foreign man in a foreign
Man,
land.
in a foreign land.
In a
Because,
la-
like, people
foreign
say
man
foreign,
in a
but-
foreign lad. Yes, okay.
No, you see? I hope that don't catch on. I can't have
Where
that
can
catching on.
where can the people find you? Where should they follow you? What should they check out?
Big up the wave. Big up the wave and the red flag. That's
What was you finna say? Hold on.
I was gonna say wagging it. I don't know why I was gonna say
Wagging the red flag. Okay.
Yeah. But like, big up the web, man. This is a good conversation. All kind of laughs and jests. If you want to find more foreign, you can go on youtube.com/foreign man in the foreign land. The best /foreign man in the foreign land you can find on YouTube. Foreign man 242 on Twitter and Foreign man in the foreign land on TikTok. I need to go. That's where all of the big skullduggery and things go down. But yes, I appreciate you.
Links in the bio for that skullduggery. You know what I'm saying?
Calm down. Like, you can't say link in the bio too strong.
Oh,
because,
true. We not dropping the OnlyFans just yet. Okay, understood.
just yet. You gotta
Just
go and
yet.
get the
But
numbers up
soon,
first.
I got you.
big menting. Okay, cool.
Pre-order it.
Pre-order pre-order the foreign OnlyFans in the link in the bio. Well, look, if you
And
guys
it
want
will
to come
also
through,
be available in the nigga tier.
yes, yeah, 3/5 off in the nigga tier for the OnlyFans, 100%. So look, if you guys want to join us before podcast, like live to chop it up with us, or if you want bonus episodes from that where we, talk about, you'll learn what the nigga tier is. Hop on Patreon, like, subscribe, let us know what you think about everything we said this episode, and I believe that's a wrap. Peace. Pew, pew, pew. Oh shit! R.I.P. Kevin Conroy, the one true real Batman. Rest in peace. The mission never ends. Vengeance will live on. You know what I'm saying? Cape Crusader type shit. I am the knight. All right. Peace.
It's a red flag.